So today we're going to do some animation in Keynote. And we're going to start by downloading a couple images from Canvas. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Canvas app. And I'm going to open up Mr. Knapp's class. And then when I go to the Assignments button, you'll see an option that says Download B and Download Flower. So I'm going to hit Download B first, and when I click or tap, it'll open up an image of a bee, and there is a share arrow in the upper right hand corner. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to tell it to save image, to save this to my photo library. Now, first time I do it, it's going to ask me, do I want to allow Canvas to use my photos? I want to hit Allow. Now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to tell it to download a flower. Once the flower opens, again, I'm going to hit my share arrow, and I'm going to tell it to save image. So now I'm going to go ahead and swipe up to quit Canvas, and I'm going to open up my Photos app. First time you open the Photos app, it may ask you what's new. You can go ahead and just hit continue. In your photo library, you should see two images. You should see your bee and you should see your flower. They may not be right next to each other, and that's okay. Now we are going to add these images into Keynote. So I'm going to open up my Keynote app. Now I'll just search for it and open it. I'll hit continue to get started and choose a theme. For this presentation, I want just a white theme with no background. Now there's a spot for a title and a spot for a subtitle. I'm going to go ahead and tap once to select it, and then hit the delete key on my keyboard to remove these text boxes. So now I have a big open empty space. And now I'm ready to insert my images. Now this photo right here, or this icon right here, is the image library or photo library icon. So anytime I click on that, it will allow me to insert photos right from my photo library. So I can say insert photo or video, and this will show me my photo library and will show me everything that I have in there. And you should see, I have to scroll, you should see an image for your flower, which if I click on, it'll insert. And then I click the button one more time, photo or video, and this time I'm going to find my bee. So now I have my two images. Now I can tap and drag to move these around. But you'll notice how these images, either the bee or the flower, they have white borders around them. You'll notice if I move it around, you can see the white border around it. In this case, I don't want that white border. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my flower to select it. You can notice the little circles in the corners. And I'm going to tap my paintbrush up here at the top. And then I have an option for style, image, and arrange. I want image, and I want to tell it to remove the background. So now it tells me it's done. I can go ahead and hit done. And if I move that image around, you'll notice now there is no longer a background of that image. And I'm going to do the same thing with my bee. I'm going to click on it once. If I put them on top of the flower, you'll be able to see what I'm doing. I'm going to tap my paintbrush. And then I'm going to go down here to remove background. And in this case, it actually took part of his wing away. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it to reset. And click and drag on some of that white space in the background. And if I click and drag, you'll notice how it highlights it blue. Once I get only the background highlighted in blue, I can let go with my finger or trackpad, and then hit done, and it'll make my bee background transparent as well. So I have a bee, and I have a flower. Now I can click on the corners and I can resize the bee, make them bigger if I want to. And these are the two things that I'm going to animate. Now, before we get started, I am going to duplicate this slide. So over here on the left-hand side, if you don't have this sidebar, this button right here, we'll open it up. It's called the slide view here. It gives you this little sidebar. And if I click on this slide, and if I simply tap once on this slide, there'll be an option that says duplicate. I'm going to duplicate this slide twice. So I'm going to tap on it once, hit duplicate, and then tap on it one more time and tell it to duplicate. So I have 3 slides on the left-hand side. I'm going to tap on my first one, and then I'm going to tap on the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner, and I'm going to tell it to animate. And I'm going to go ahead and animate my bee. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on my bee, and you'll notice at the bottom there's an option to add a build in, or add a build out, or add an action. I'm going to start by adding a build in, and you'll notice there's a whole variety of different build ins to choose from. In this case, I am going to have him simply move in. And once I tap it, it'll give me a preview of what it does. Now, I'm going to hit the X, and I'm going to add what's called a build out. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and add a move out. And he flies across the screen. Again, I can hit the X, and you'll see I now have a move in, and I have a move out. So to preview my animation, I can hit the play button in the upper right hand corner. It starts with my flower, and as soon as I tap or click, my bee moves in, and if I tap and click again, he will move out and fly across the screen. Now if I click 2 more times, it'll go through my last 2 slides and back into edit mode. So on this first slide, I simply used my bee and my move in, move out animation to make him move across the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and click on slide 2, and I'm going to tap on my bee, and I'm going to tap and drag to actually move him off the page in the bottom corner. So you can kind of see him down there, but he's not on my slide. So now, instead of adding a build in and build out, I'm going to add what's called an action. So I'm going to click the add action button, and there's a whole series of different actions that I can choose from. In this case, I want one called create path. Now what this is going to do is you'll notice there is now a red dot on top of my bee. And if I tap on that dot and drag with my finger, I can actually drag and move, and it'll create a path that my bee is going to follow. And as soon as I lift my finger, it'll preview and show me what that path is going to do. So now I can go ahead and click done, or I can clear it if I want to start over. And now I've created what's called a motion path for my bee to follow. Now, if I moved my cursor onto that path, I can adjust any of these. So maybe this is a little too tight. I want to click and drag to make this not so tight of a curve. I can adjust those if I need to individually without having to start all over if I want. And now I'm going to add one more action here. This time I'm going to hit the plus sign, and I'm going to add a jiggle, and then click the X. So now I have a path and then a jiggle. So again, if I hit the play button, it starts off with nothing. It's waiting for me to tap or click. And as soon as I tap or click, it will follow my motion path. And then when I click again, it'll jiggle. I can click a couple more times to go back out of my slideshow. Again, if I click on slide 2, my B is off the page here. So if I need to get back there and click on them, I can. And now I'm going to click on these 3 lines in the upper right-hand corner. And I'm going to click on jiggle. And this time, instead of it being on tap, what I want to happen is I want it to jiggle as soon as he finishes moving. So I'm going to say after build 1, then I want it to jiggle. So it will do a motion path where it's going to follow my motion. And then once it reaches the end, right after it's done, it'll jiggle automatically and it won't wait for me to tap. I can even set a delay in here if I want to on how long it'll take before it does it. So maybe I want it to be 0.2 seconds and then he'll jiggle. So again, now if I hit preview or play, I tap once to start. He follows my motion path, lands on top of my flower, waits 0.2 seconds, and then jiggles. And then again, I can click a couple more times to get out of it. So for our last type of animation, we are going to use what's called the magic move transition. And so in order to do that, I need to go ahead and tap on slide 3 one more time and tell it to duplicate. And a transition is how it goes from one slide into the next. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on slide 3, and I am going to tap on my flower and move it down a little bit. And I'm going to tap on my B, and I'm going to move him off the screen again, like that. So I have a flower, and I have my B off the screen. Now I'm going to tap on slide 4, and on this slide, I need to arrange my flower and my B exactly how I want them to end up. So if I want my B to end right here, I will set him up just like that. So slide 3 is how things start. Slide 4 is how things are going to end. And now I can go back to slide 3. I tell it to add a transition. And I'm going to add what's called magic move by simply tapping it. And you'll notice it transitions from one to the next. So again, if I hit the play button to preview, it'll ask me if I want to duplicate my slides. I can hit cancel because we've already done that. And again, it will wait for my click to start my transition. And now both parts move together in a magic move. So again, just to recap, I have slide 1. In my first slide, if I hit play, this is where I had a build in that had my B show up and a build out that had him fly across the screen. I had slide 2 where I have my animation where it follows an action of a path with a little added jiggle at the end. And then I have my magic move transition from slide 3 to slide 4, where they both objects move together, and so on. So those are 3 different ways that you can move objects and animate them in Keynote.